Welcome to the Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Golseth. I'm on my own today. Andy's still out sick. Get better soon, Andy. We miss you. My grounding force on this program. I get a little over-caffeinated sometimes when I'm here by myself. So get well soon, Andy. Hopefully you're back in studio next week. It is Friday, January 11th. Here in St. Louis, we're expecting a whole bunch of snow this weekend, so we'll see if that happens. The French toast advisory I hear is quite high for this weekend, so we'll see how that goes this weekend. Thanks to our underwriters, Concordia University, Wisconsin, for your support of the Coffee Hour. You can learn more about them at ctsfw.edu, or you can go to our website kfuo.org and find more information about them in the sponsor section. It is January. There's a lot of exciting events happening. For a lot of people, we're off to the March for Life next weekend. There's a March for Life this weekend in Chicago. And there's also the annual Symposia happening at Concordia Fort Wayne coming up next week. So joining us by phone to talk a little bit about this symposium is Dr. David Scaer, who is chairman of systematic theology at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne. Welcome, Dr. Scaer. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Sarah. It's good to be here, and we're having a little bit better weather than you are. That's unusual. We're several hundred miles north of you, so that's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out this afternoon. So, Symposia is happening next week. Can you tell me? Tell me a little bit about how the Symposia came about, maybe, or a little bit of how long it's been going on.
Well, this is for it's bifurcated. That means there are two parts. Mm-hmm. The one on biblical studies begins on Tuesday, and we'll be looking at they'll be looking at the Gospel of John, and the systematics department. That'll be the 34th. The one on the Lutheran Confessions put on by the systematics department. This is our 42nd year. Now that is a long time. That means if somebody began going to that symposium when he or she was 30 years of age, they'd be in their 70s now. So there's a long tradition. And it started this way, that during the turmoil in the 1970s that centered around the St. Louis faculty with the doctrine, with their position on gospel reductionism, that all you had to believe was that your sins were forgiven and that the stories in the Bible may or may not have happened. There were these conferences for lay people all around the United States in order to get them involved. Now, that all came to a conclusion in 1974 with the walkout of the faculty majority in St. Louis. But the idea that there should be conferences in which lay people and pastors should be involved continued. And so it started off more as a popular conference and is now basically a scholarly academic conference. Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask who generally attends these. Is it more for pastors, or do a lot of lay people also join in?
Well, there's a number of after 42 years of age. 42 years, the audience is going to change. We used to ask just to have a little fun, who attended who has been there at each of the conferences. And I suppose besides myself, they've all gone to their eternal rewards. So who comes? Well, first of all, it's a good opportunity for the alumni of Concordia Theological Seminary to see one another. That certainly is a motivation. And the lectures are geared, at least we intended to do, in a popular level, because each speaker is given an hour. Now, that hour means any questions. And, of course, that's always a difficulty. We've had speakers who I think have fallen asleep during their own lecture. And but we let them know there should be about 45 minutes of speaking, and then there's a discussion is opened on the floor, which is sometimes very lively,
Mm-hmm.
or should I say heated, because people do like to teach. Not everybody is a pastor, and not everybody is a theologian,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody basically is thinks theologically,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the purpose, or I should say, that's we try to gear to bring up issues, and let the issue come out on the floor, and then let who's ever there speak to it.
So you mentioned the exegetical part of the symposia will be on the Gospel of John.
That's right.
What kinds of things will the speakers be presenting during this section?
Well, it's going to be a commemoration, partially, of the Concordia Publishing House commentary on the Gospel of John, written by our colleague William Weinrich.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be one of the topics. That's going to be one of the purposes. Now, one lecture will be a comparison between the Gospel of John and what we call the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. That ought to be very interesting,
mm-hmm.
because scholars, we all know that John stands out by itself
mm-hmm.
as somewhat different. And another lecture will be by Charles Gieshen, our academic dean, on the words of Thomas, "My Lord and my God," in which he is going to look at what that gospel tells us about the person of Jesus Christ. So it looks like it's going to be another lecture will be on whether God suffers. The technical term for that is theopaschism, and it will be given by one of our pastors in Siberia, Alexei Streltsov. He'll be here on campus, of course.
Oh, wow.
And that's always a philosophical question.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so by the way, it's varied. The symposium is varied, and that is, it also is intended to appeal to those people who have a musical interest. And so this is what happens. The church, the chapel services, the choir, we at least have 2 hours of musical events every day. So on Thursday at 4 p.m. there's an organ recital, and on Wednesday at 5:15 there is a choral vespers, and then on the Friday in which it concludes, that's a week from today, there's a divine service, and the chapel is packed for that. Yeah,
I can imagine that to me as a musician, that those parts sound very exciting. We just have a couple of minutes left, but I also want to get to the second half of the symposium on the systematic part. What will that be? What will that include for this year?
We're going to discuss this. What exactly is the role of the Bible as the authority in the church? And for that, we a theologian, a Catholic theologian from down there where you are in St. Louis University, Grant Kaplan, will be on the program. And Luther and that's just one speaker. Luther and John Eck had a debate of whether the church or the Bible is the authority. So we're going to have Grant Kaplan presenting the Catholic point of view, and then my colleague Roland Ziegler will present the Lutheran view of the Scriptures. And also we're going to another person speaking to the same topic will be Richard Serena, a pastor in Philadelphia, Dr. Richard Serena, on the Luther year was just the past year, and really now the past 2 years, and so we're continuing with studying into Luther, and I'm going to be giving on a lecture. Where do we begin theology? Do we begin talking about inspiration, justification, or do we engage in historical criticism? And I'm going to be pushing a little bit the last option there. So it looks like I always consider a symposium successful when people get all involved in the topic. We try to avoid a purely academic. We want to be academic, but we simply do not want to have the lectures presented that very few of the people can understand it, because they really don't care about the topic. So, and then we, so then we have there are two other events which are significant, and that is we're doing this for the first time. For those pastors who come here who played on the basketball team, there's going to be a basketball game between people who shouldn't be doing that anymore. And so we might have a few. I hope it's just some sprained ankles. It's going to be their problem, not mine. And then we're going to have the banquet. And that is, of course, a wonderful occasion. On Thursday night, we have the reception at Thursday at 4 p.m. We have the Vespers and organ recital. Then we have a reception, which is held in the library. And really, we have a beautiful library, and we have not only for books, but for this kind of reception. Then at 6:30, we have the banquet.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be quite a wonderful event happening next week, with all of these great speakers and topics and musical things, and a basketball game, which should be interesting. And so this is happening next week at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, January 15 to 18. And we can find more information at ctsfw.edu. Is that correct?
And that is correct. And let me also say there is no dead time. In other words, with sometimes you go to conferences, you're walking around. There is no dead time, and everybody really, really likes it. All
right. Dr. David Scaer, thank you so much for joining me. We are all out of time.
Well, good talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure. Let's do it again. See you later.
All right. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. We'll have more.